What's up guys, Curtis here and welcome to a brand new FIFA 10 to FIFA 15 biggest downgraded players video. I really enjoy making these and I hope you guys do enjoy watching them. Next little set of ones we're going to do the ones with the biggest position changes. So that should be a lot of fun, but I don't know about you guys, but I personally really love just going back, looking through all these old cards and just seeing all these random different things that were going on back then. Personally, I find it really interesting. I think it's a really cool little thing. So before we get stuck into it, if we could smash 350 likes this episode, guys, that'd be absolutely amazing. Also, if you could sub, if you're new around here, that'd be great. So first up in goal, we have Shay Given. Now this guy, he's had an interesting time of it. Now, if we go back to FIFA 10, the guy was playing at City. He was their starting goalie. Now, obviously, Joe Hart has risen up since then, and he did move on to Aston Villa, but it's a very interesting fall to go through. Minus 11 rating over those few years is absolutely crazy. He was actually a really highly rated goalie. People really used to like him. Now he's basically Villa's second choice cup goalie behind Brad Guzan, and it's pretty interesting to see how he's fallen, although he has taken him to the cup final, so fair play for that. Going to be interesting to see how they do in the final with him. Next up, we have Big Timmy Cahill. Now, I'm a big Tim Cahill fan, to be honest with you. The dreams of the days when him and Arteta were in that midfield, it was actually kind of ridiculous. They were really solid at Everton. But obviously both have moved on. Both have kind of gone downhill a bit since then. But Cahill, I'm not sure how much you guys know about this, but he's one of those players that literally is ridiculous in the air. I think one season he scored 14 headers, which is just ludicrous for a centre mid that isn't even that tall. So he's one of the best in the air. He's got incredible jumping. As you can see by the fact his heading on FIFA is so good as well. And if you just look back to that FIFA 10 and FIFA 11 cards, they look like they'd be so good, really good defending, really well-rounded stats, and having that heading in your midfield, imagine playing him centre forward. You could just constantly play long balls to him and he'd knock it down to whoever your striker was. I think he would be one of the most OP players. He's also got loads of really cool cards on foot. He gets loads of team of the seasons and stuff like that. And yeah, he's got a really cool man of the match this year as well. So he's a very interesting player. Let's go on to the next one. Next up, we have Samuel Etoile, and this is a guy that has kind of fallen from grace recently, but in the last 10 years or so, he's one of the best strikers that has ever existed, really. Now, I'm not sure how much you guys know about this, but back in the day, he was actually at Barca, and it was a very kind of controversial topic at the time. He obviously moved on to Inter, as you can see, and at the time, Zlatan Ibrahimovic was at Inter, and he was there, I think, from 2006 to 2009, but in a very controversial deal. Zlatan went to Barca, and Etoile went to Inter, but Barca paid money on top of Etoile for Ibra, and everyone was really confused because at the time, let me double check it, Etoile's goals to game ratio was 108 in 145 in the league. He was absolutely tearing it up. He was doing so well there, and nobody could really understand why they'd want to give Etoile and money for Ibra. Now, of course, it ended up being a relatively decent thing. Zlatan had an okay season, but he did end up then moving on after that. He went to Milan, and then obviously he's at PSG now. But he's kind of grown his game as he's got older. The last 4 years has kind of been Zlatan's twilight era. It's when he's played his best football. Now, I just find it very interesting that they'd send out Etoile and money at the time when Zlatan wasn't really that good, and Etoile was incredible. But nonetheless, as you can see, Etoile has gone down a lot of ratings, and I'm sure he's going to keep going down. He's currently playing at Sampdoria. His record this season is 1 goal in his last 10, which is not too good for a player such as Etoile. But anyway, let's go on to the next one. Next up, we have Didier Drogba. Lots of people seem to think he's one of the best Premier League strikers that has been around. Now, in his first spell at Chelsea, he got 100 goals in 226 games. And this spell, he's not done quite as well. He's got 3 in 18. But that's a lot of goals for a player. And he's an interesting one. Now, as you'll see in the middle, he didn't actually have a card in FIFA 13. That was because he went off to Shanghai Shenhua. A very interesting move. A lot of people think it was just for money. And then he did end up going to Galatasaray and actually played relatively well there. Got a lot of goals and had a pretty solid time. But now he's back at Chelsea. I personally was petrified when he was subbed on against us yesterday because he's a player that always scores goals against Arsenal. I think his record is something like 9 in 9 or 9 in 8 or something ludicrous where he just always scores against Arsenal. Thankfully, he didn't get one yesterday, but he's gone down a fair few ratings. Obviously, he was at his best in his career at the sort of time that FIFA 9, FIFA 10 were coming out, but he's gone down a few, and I don't know if he'll be at Chelsea come next season. Now, last but most certainly not least, we have another player that did kind of flirt with the Premier League, but it was interesting to see how he got on. Now, as I'm sure you guys know, he was one of the best Brazilian fullbacks for quite a while. He was in every Brazil squad, and he was absolutely tearing it up at Inter. City came along with all their money, they bought him over, and he just didn't really suit the Premier League. He didn't really suit the City team. He didn't get too many games, and eventually actually ended up going back to Roma. Now, he had a fantastic year last year for Roma. This season, not so much. I don't think he's played as much football as he did last year, but he was absolutely brilliant last year and had a great time. But he's been downgraded. Technically got downgraded 11, but he did go back up 1 this season. So, quite a big change, and another one of those biggest downgraded players. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. Smash that like button if you did. If we could hit 350 likes in this episode, guys, that would be absolutely amazing. Remember to subscribe if you're new around here. Have a fantastic day, guys, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.